In the hierarchy of live performance, there are people out there who have gotten on stage, they've performed a handful of songs. There are people who have done big, high quality touring stage productions and everything in between. So, based on that hierarchy of live performance, where do you stand? And honestly, where do you want to be? Today, I want to unpack this a little bit. Let's take a look at the different levels of live performance that are available and out there for you to do as an entertainer, as a musician, as a singer. Let's figure out where you stand on that hierarchy, and if you're ready for it, let's help you level up a little bit. Let's get started. Welcome back to Danny Robertson Music, where we're helping you be the performer that you're meant to be. I'm Danny. Thank you for joining me. As always, today we're going to look at some of the levels of live performance. Specifically, we're going to talk about 7 levels of live performance that are based on musicians and singers and entertainers, and how you can learn to figure out where you stand on that, where your comfort zone is, and how you can level up to that next level. So as we get started here, I want to point out something very important when it comes to being a live performer. We're going to start with this. There is going to be a lot of different versions of performing that we can talk about today. And based on where you sit as a live performer, some of this might make you uncomfortable. The truth is that there's no right answer for this. The only right answer is the one that works for you. These levels are not a ranking of your musical talent. You can be a very talented musician and be a level 0 performer. You can also be a very not talented musician and be a level 7 performer. It's all based on the scale and complexity of the performance, not your individual talents, okay? Each of these levels is based on a certain level of audience experience that you're trying to create. And some of these are very basic, some of these are very grandiose. So we're going to talk through all of this and kind of give you an idea of the different kinds of performing that you can do as a musical entertainer. So starting off, we have level 0, the shower singer. So the shower singer is the one where you're not really performing for anybody but yourself. This is someone who loves music. They may be a great singer. They may be a great musician, but the performing part of it is not for an audience yet. You are performing for yourself.
Singing in the shower.
Singing in the car, playing drums in the car. That's a lot of drummer ones. Playing guitar alone at home, singing along to records, jamming out in the basement. That could even be with other people if you want, but the performance is mostly for yourselves. You're not doing the music to entertain anybody but yourself. When we go to level 1, we're talking about solo performers. We're talking about individuals who are just doing the music, maybe doing it at a club or a bar or a coffee shop, but essentially this is a stripped down performing experience. For the audience, it means hearing someone perform music. You're not necessarily trying to entertain as much with a visual performance. You are entertaining by playing your music. This can also mean things like karaoke, open mic nights, someone singing with a backing track. You know, that's a very common one that you can see with solo performers. Someone sitting and playing an acoustic guitar. I know tons of people that do this. And the truth is that that's a very normal style of performance. There's actually a ton of performers that perform this way. There is nothing wrong with this kind of performance. From the audience perspective, this is primarily a musical performance. It's a person that is either singing or playing or both to a song with an instrument or tracks. A lot of the time, these performances are meant to be background music. They are hired by venues to basically play the music and allow for patrons of the venue to talk and have the ability to hear themselves while the music is going on. So these are great kinds of performances to do because you can go and do it by yourself or maybe as a duo or something like that. But the idea is not costing the venue a lot of money. You're costing them just enough to have entertainment, but you're not actually having to do much entertaining in this case. So that's the solo performer. Moving on, we're looking at level 2 being the act. Now, this can still be a solo performer, but a lot of the time this is considered a duo, okay? You're now incorporating some level of visual and or audience interaction. The performer becomes more than just a delivery mechanism for the songs. It is hearing and seeing someone perform music. These performances add a little bit more personality. There might be a little bit more of a visual element to the performance. You are talking and entertaining the audience while you're doing the musical performance. This becomes much more about personality and presentation, not just musical ability. The audience isn't just listening at this point, they are watching. So what's different here is there's personality, there's stage presence, there's banter, there's maybe some movement, there's some level of visual presentation, and a lot of the time, this is where we start to incorporate some level of audience interaction. So the audience starts thinking, I like watching this person as opposed to just listening to this person. Moving on from the act is the next level is obvious. We're adding a little bit of an ensemble to this. This is usually can still be duos, but it can be trios, it can be quartets. The ensemble is where we incorporate something else. Now, 2 or 3 people create a fundamentally different experience from a single person. So think when you're adding a duo, for example, you are giving your audience members not only 2 things to listen to, you're giving them 2 things to look at. When you add a trio, there become 3 things to look at. And when you add a level of presentation to that, that becomes more that the audience can participate in and listen to and watch. So it can look like a guitarist and a vocalist, a piano player and a vocalist, an acoustic duo. That's a very common one. A jazz trio is very common. You see that a lot at weddings. Or some kind of small cover group. I'm actually doing something like this in a few weeks where 2 other people that I normally play with in a larger band are doing a smaller scale event where they're adding some tracks and I'm coming in as the piano player and the secondary vocalist so that we can have 2 or 3 part harmonies for this group. The concept becomes that there is now a show happening on stage. The crowd can pay attention to different things and now move between the different performers to kind of see both the visual and the musical element of the show. It keeps their attention more essentially. So now you have things like musical interplay. Maybe there are 2 soloists in your jazz trio that take turns doing solos. You can now add harmonies. You can add multiple personalities to talk and interact with the audience. There is more visual interaction and there's more sonic variety. So what this could look like is maybe I have a trio where I'm playing piano and singing vocals. I have a guitarist who is a female singer as well, and a saxophone player who might sing sometimes. And what we have in that case is that you have a male vocal, a female vocal, a piano, a guitar, and a saxophone. And sometimes we might even harmonize together, the 3 of us. It creates sonic variety, which therefore allows the audience to look around and listen to different things to create a better experience for themselves. Moving on to level 4, the band. Now, this is probably the first time where an audience can go, this is a full live performance. The average watcher, the average spectator, this is what they think of as a full version of live musical performance. So think you're adding drums, you're adding bass, guitar, keys, multiple vocalists. The experience for your audience feels bigger. And that's a natural feeling because once you get to the point where you've moved past the small ensemble size, it feels more naturally like a performance. So this is where everything starts to scale. The sound feels bigger. The visual picture feels bigger. There are more people on stage, which means there is more movement. There are more things to watch. The audience experiences a larger collective energy from a larger, bigger group. The perception becomes this is a band. When you have a trio, particularly if you're missing out on drums, it takes away the live feeling of the performance. Once you add in specifically a drummer and a lot of the time a bassist, it feels like it's heartier, it's bigger, there's more oomph to the performance. So when you move up from a smaller ensemble, it really starts to feel like a just naturally bigger performance. So where do we go from here? There are actually 3 more levels to talk about, but at this point you've scaled from a single performer to a duo that's engaging more visually, to a small ensemble, to a band. What's bigger than a band? A show. Level 5 is the show. So this is where bands and small ensembles and acts and solo performers can learn to level up the engagement portion of your performance. The show is everything feels bigger. A band can be big, but not actually put on a show. So think of it like this. The show is where you start to incorporate the things that are intentional about the performance, planned entrances and exits, transitions and medleys, choreography, stage movement, lots of audience interaction. The show is where the audience starts to experience more of what I would call a designed sequence of events. This is where you're trying to make the show feel intentional to the audience that is in front of you. Your fans aren't simply watching musicians play songs anymore. You're creating more of a design. Like you start with a nice moment, an important moment in the show. You build to a bigger payoff, and then you give that payoff. Maybe you incorporate a surprise or something emotional, or adding some kind of different levels of energy, and then finish it off with a big finale. Now, it feels less like a musical band performance and more like a show. You're incorporating the theatrical into the performance. You're trying to relate your performance to your audience. Now, from my experience, this is the level that most performers struggle to get to. Now, you can be a performer like this as a solo performer. It's about the level of intentionality and the level of engagement that you create for your audience experience. Playing music with the intention of creating an experience is a completely different set of tools, and that's where most performers could really use a level up. And believe it or not, most of this stuff is not hard. It's just stuff that you've got to think about ahead of time so that you know how to operate when you are trying to engage an audience. Once you have your show planned out and you are designing your audience experience, what would be the obvious next step here? Well, it's your production. It's the part of your show where you take the stage and make the stage an active member of your performance. Your environment becomes part of the performance. The stage is part of the show. Things like professional lighting. You incorporate video walls, LED screens, special effects, things like fog machines, dry ice machines, those cold burning firework pyrotechnics. I mean, this stuff is getting pretty cool these days, and it's fairly inexpensive. You can put on a pretty neat show for a fairly cheap price these days. You can incorporate costumes, or at the very minimum, have some level of performance attire that the band has agreed to do together. It doesn't have to be matching, it just has to work together. The stage itself is now part of your show. So think about what your audience experience is here. What do they hear? What do they see? How does everything make your fans, the people in your crowd, how does it make them feel? The audience is not just watching the performers. The sounds, sights, the feelings of your performance, they're all being intentionally designed just like your show. They're experiencing an environment. You can think of this like you would going to a theater show, a musical, some kind of stage play. They're creating a world that you are experiencing from your seat. The show is much more about creating the environment that makes you feel like you are in a completely different place. Live musicians don't tend to do this very much, but the ones that do are really creating a unique experience for their fans. Now, this might not be possible for most case scenarios, but what can you do in your little world of performance that makes it feel grandiose? It makes it feel bigger. It makes it feel like you are taking your fans and putting them into your world. So we've thought through the show, we've thought through the production. What could be next? What is that level 7 performance? Well, this is where you see the biggest of the biggest performers do with their stage show, and that is the spectacle. This is where you are creating this entire experience that is completely associated with your performance. The spectacle isn't just a performance. It's the event of the century. It is the thing that your fans, your crowd, your audience will remember for years to come. This performance is not simply about a bigger band, more lights, or being more expensive. The entire experience becomes a memorable event. You can think of it like major concert productions, the best of the best, the ones that go on world tours that sell out every arena that they go to. They have a very well-designed event that people want to come to. The performance is not just music. It's not just talking with an audience or engaging with an audience. It is creating an experience that every single fan is going to go, that was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. Las Vegas productions, a great one that's happened in the last 10 years is The Sphere. The Sphere is a perfect example of a Las Vegas production that has garnered so much attention because when you go in there, you experience the entire event. Hear the wind in the speakers. They have things that blow wind at you to kind of give you that 4D experience where you're feeling not only The visuals and the auditory part of it, you're feeling the entire immersive experience. You feel like you are there. Lots of theater style performances, anything on Broadway, that kind of stuff is always done well like that. Highly produced wedding entertainment. I personally play in a wedding and special events band that does a lot of big events. But I can tell you that while we have a well-rounded show and we are doing a pretty decent level of production, we're not quite at the level of spectacle. And I think that we could grow our performances to that next level. That could be our next step if we choose to go that far. It's a bigger event than just music, just visuals, just talking with an audience and creating an emotional connection. A spectacle is the biggest experience that someone might have possibly in their entire life. You want to create that level of amazement and awe and excitement that people talk about it for years to come. In a spectacle, something is always happening. Your audience doesn't necessarily always know where to look. And that's the whole point. It's not just one person singing. It's one person singing while lights are shifting, while a video's playing on a different part of the stage, the band is transitioning to a new song, you're bringing in stage dancers, the audience is participating in the performance in some way. The show is larger than any single performer, and the crowd thinks, wow, what am I experiencing? Like, this is amazing. The entire point of the spectacle is to create so much excitement and movement and emotional connection and awe and participation that your audience is so floored. It was so amazing that they will never forget it. So here are your 7 levels of performing. Now, this includes level 0, which is the shower singer. But where are you as a performer? Where are you as a musician or a singer or a performer on this scale? Do you perform solo gigs or maybe as a duo act or an ensemble, and you'd like to grow into a live band? Are you a live band that plays a lot of shows, plays a lot of music, but hasn't quite figured out the ability to create a designed experience? The show or the production quality is not quite there. You don't have any stage lighting or something like that. Or are you at that higher level where you really want to grow into a larger spectacle? You want to create this extremely satisfying experience for your fans so that they remember it for years to come. There is absolutely no right or wrong answer for this. The only right answer is the one that is right for you. This is not based on your talents. It is based on how big you want to scale your show and deliver an audience experience. And if you want to get to that next level, I can help you. Just check out DannyRobertsonMusic.com. We offer courses, coaching, lots of tools, lots of guides, and we can help you get to that next level to create a designed experience that creates your show into something that your audience will not forget. So if you want to learn more about this and level up your performance, I can help you. Just definitely check out DannyRobertsonMusic.com, okay? In the meantime, have a great next show. Best of luck on your performances, growing out that performance to that next level, and we'll see you soon. Take care.